Hi, I'm Helga from Helga's Pennsylvania Cooking. And today might seem like a simple thing, but it's not just a simple thing. Not if you want to do something a little extra special. I'm talking mashed potatoes. So before we get into this, you're going to say, mashed potatoes, I know how to make mashed potatoes. But these are like the ultimate mashed potatoes. This is what we usually have on New Year's Eve and for some other special dinners, and they're affectionately referred to in the family as goopy taters. Yep, goopy taters. That's partly because of all the good stuff in them. They are to die for. When you see what goes into them, you'll see why we only have them a couple times a year. But they are fabulous. And you know, there's a right way and a wrong way to do mashed potatoes. I had to laugh because on one of the boards I'm on, we were actually talking about this recipe, and one of the ladies basically came on and said, I've been making mashed potatoes 40 years. I don't need a recipe and someone to tell me how to make mashed potatoes. She was a little triggered. But what you got to remember is there's a whole lot of people that don't know how to make mashed potatoes. And when she looked at the recipe, well, I never made them like that. Well, then I guess you do need a recipe. Anyhow, the point is, you know, don't take it for granted that everybody knows how to do something. You know, there are so many younger people and stuff that never cooked, never knew how, trying to make their first holiday dinners and stuff, and you know, they come to the boards and stuff looking for the recipes and stuff that we've grown up with. And my generation, Generation X, we were kind of split in two groups. There was the group, my kind of group, where we were like farm kids and stuff, and so we all grew up cooking from scratch and knowing how to. But then there were kids like my neighbors who had either dual working parents or single parents. They had a microwave. We did not get a microwave for like ever. I remember going to my neighbor's house when they first got their microwave, and it was like, this is like magic. But you know, they grew up either microwaving stuff, they were latchkey kids, and you know, it's not that it really was anybody's fault, it was the times, and it was just how you survived. So if they didn't learn how to cook, they weren't able to teach their kids how to cook. And you now have a couple generations now where, you know, our grandkids' ages that are trying to figure it all out, and sometimes for the first time. So, you know, if somebody's trying to learn, cut them a break. You know, that's what this is all about. And, you know, we don't all know everything. You know, you people are all over the country, all over the world, in other countries. I learned so much from you guys on what your region offers and recipes in your families. And you know, food is culture, and that's part of the joy of this. So I know all of that over simple mashed potatoes. You don't even want to get me started on a complicated subject. So a couple notes about potatoes for mashed potatoes. Like apples, there are certain varieties that are better for some preparations than others. You know, when I'm using apples for baking, I want Macintosh. If I'm doing apple jelly, I want ginger gold. If I'm eating them, I like Red Delicious or Honey Crisp. So, you know, and there's other varieties as well. There's better varieties depending on composition, tartness, sweetness, whatnot for what you're doing. The same is true for potatoes. Not all potatoes are made the same, and some are waxier and higher starch content than others, and so it makes a difference in how your potatoes, for whatever preparation you do, come out. At the end here of the video, I am going to actually include a chart for you that shows you how to use what potatoes for what preparation. For mashed potatoes, it has always been the golden rule that you use russets. Russets are the best for baking, mashing, roasting, and French fries. White potatoes are good to boil, and for French fries, salads, or scalloped potatoes. Yellow potatoes are good for boiling, baking, mashing, roasting, French fries, and scalloped potatoes. I like those for scalloped potatoes quite a bit. Blue or purple is good for boiling or baking and salads. Yukon Golds are good for everything except roasting and salads. They tend to break apart a lot more, so they don't hold up in a salad preparation well. Red potatoes are good for boiling, roasting, soups and salads, and actually red potatoes are my favorite for doing fried taters and for doing red dilly potato salad. And then fingerling potatoes, which are a really fancy name for small potatoes, are good for boiling, baking, roasting, and salads. So that's the breakdown on the potato chart. I will include that at the end of the video, because if you don't have the right kind of potatoes for what you're trying to make, it's not necessarily going to turn out the way you want. You use too high a starchy potato, it's going to turn into a gluey, gloppy mess. And it won't taste that great. So, you know, what good is that? Also, if you want to be truly, truly Puritan about this, if you're doing good fine dining mashed potatoes, you actually use the russets, but you actually rice them. You don't mash them and smash them, you rice them, and that gives you the super fluffy texture of really upscale mashed potatoes. Yeah, I don't usually have the time to mess with that. If you're doing small batches, it's really a nice way to go. But usually when I make mashed potatoes, because I love them, I make a lot. So, and this is no exception. So, all of that for goopy mashed potatoes, or as I'm going to call them, the ultimate mashed potatoes. They take a little bit longer to make, but they're worth it. These can be made ahead of time. That's really nice for the holidays, because you can make these ahead and refrigerate them a couple days, take them out and throw them in the oven to be ready whenever, you know, Thanksgiving dinner, Christmas dinner, whatever is ready. They can be frozen. After they're made, you let them cool. A nice trick is line muffin pans and fill the muffin pans with your mashed potatoes, freeze them. After they're frozen, pop them out and put them in a freezer safe bag. So you can actually have portion size mashed potatoes for a later date, or if you have leftovers. Just when you heat them up, just do them on medium heat, slow, and add a little bit of milk or water to them to help them reconstitute, and then they actually come out really nice. So let's get to it. So if you look at the ingredients, you can see why we only make this a couple times a year. The russet potatoes, you can use light or heavy cream. I'm using light. Chicken broth, and of course I use my better than bouillon. A couple sticks of butter, garlic, cream cheese over here, and then I add in some Cooper Sharp for me. Cooper Sharp is really popular here in the PA Dutch region. It's basically a type of white American cheese, but it's not the same as like regular store American cheese. I don't really know how to explain it, except that it's Cooper Sharp, and I like it a lot for a lot of preparations, including like my turnip casserole. So anyhow, it's going in mine. That's all that matters. Now, while I prepare my potatoes, or get my potatoes ready to go in a stock pot, and how do you like that, Pampered Chef? Nice enameled blue Lodge cast iron. Yes, this is enameled cast iron that is Pampered Chef, but made by Lodge. I love this thing. Anyhow, I have my 16 cups of water and my better than bouillon chicken bouillon in there, roughly 2 tablespoons. And then we're going to prep the potatoes. You want 8 decent sized russet potatoes. Scrub them good and clean them because I'm leaving the skins on. There's a lot of good nutritional value in the skins, and so as long as your potatoes are clean and, you know, healthy looking and no bad spots, and they're newer potatoes, absolutely try and use the skins when you can. Like on the red potatoes, I hardly ever peel red potatoes. So the skins are going to stay on, clean them real good, and we're just going to cube these fairly small to add to our chicken stock, and we're going to add the garlic in there as well. And this is partly what's going to give the potatoes such great flavor later, is cooking them, boiling them. We're going to bring up to a boil and then reduce to a simmer and let them cook low and slow in this broth. I'm going to add in my garlic. Start adding my potatoes, and try and cut them and have uniform size so they cook evenly and all get done. Mine are so-so. I stink at mise en place, but it'll get the job done. All the potatoes are in. Now we're going to bring it up to a boil and then reduce it to a simmer and let them slowly simmer until they're tender and done. You don't want to overcook them because then they'll get gloppy, but you want them tender. There's no crunchy parts, so you don't want underdone potatoes either. So keep an eye on them. When they're tender, a knife goes through, they're tender. Don't overdo it. The potatoes are done cooking. They are now tender when you stick a knife through. So I am going to drain them off into a colander because we're going to drain off all that stock. Then we're going to make our yummy part with the butter and cheeses, and then we will return the potatoes back to the pot and mash it. On medium heat, I'm going to add my butter first. Then I will add the cream and then the cheeses. Next, I'm going to add about a cup of the cream. You can add more later if we need it. Then I'm going to add in my cheeses to start melting. And just keep an eye on stirring this over low heat. I just keep stirring it like this until it all gets melted. All melted, and we're going to add our potatoes back in and mash her up. And you can see the garlic stayed behind, so we get that good flavor. Now the mashing part. Now the fun part. And that is good enough. I don't need any more cream. The cup was good enough with all of that. If you want to get it nice and browned on top, stick it back in the oven at 400 and get the top browned a little bit. And like I said, you can save this for a day or two and just put it back in the oven to heat back up when you do your big dinner. You know what comes next. You know what time it is. So here are my goopy mashed potatoes. Yes, they're goopy, but they're goopy with all the good stuff. Give it a taste test. To me, this is like next second best to pierogi casserole. Oh my God. But the garlic and the cheese. Oh man. I could sit there and eat that whole pot full of this. So good. Remember, it freezes as well, so you can save it for later. If you don't want to use potatoes and you want to use something different, use riced cauliflower. Texture will be a little bit different, but it'll still be really good, and I think you'll really enjoy it. And you know what? A lot of people won't know the difference. Like I said, these are our special holiday potatoes. Ultimate mashed, or as the family says, goopy mashed potatoes. So there you go. I paired it with a New York strip steak tonight with sauteed mushrooms and onions because it's like my one special meal, because I just came off working 16 12-hour shifts in a row Head off today, and I go back for 7 more tomorrow. Happy holidays. Anyhow, this is part of the side dishes for the Helga's Happy Holidays series. I'll be doing some baking too, but side dishes first, because you know Thanksgiving's coming next week. And for those that asked about me doing a Christmas story, yes, I will be reading a Christmas story again, just like I do every year. So stay tuned. It'll be out right before Christmas. Goopy mashed potatoes. Give it a shot. And happy holidays.